Have you ever felt emotionally stuck or felt that Western medicine alone wasn't addressing your physical issues? As women, our bodies often face new challenges as we age. And emotionally, hormone changes can make difficult times even harder. Today, we'll discuss alternative approaches to traditional medicine that we can explore. Welcome to today's episode of Betty's Smart Friends. I'm Betty Wang, your host. I'm a certified financial planner and a partner to women in their financial lives. I help them feel taken care of and less alone when it comes to their money. To help us today with our discussion, we have special guest Christy Sanger, MSPT, MOMT, CNC. Christy is a highly accomplished professional with a diverse background. She helps individuals who are experiencing pain, illness, disease, injury, emotional issues, and those who feel stuck in life. Each session is tailored to the individual's needs, combining Christy's extensive skill set and complementing both Eastern and Western medicine. Stay tuned as we dive into Christy's journey, her unique approach to healing, and how she has transformed the lives of many through her holistic practices. I have friends who swear by her and have gone to her personally. I felt stuck a few years ago and then again a few months ago. I can't really explain how it works, but it does. My friends describe her as an intuitive healer, and I have to say I agree. Please welcome Christy to the podcast. Hi, Christy. Thanks for being here.
Hi, thanks for having me. This is so great.
Well, you're part of the inspiration for starting this podcast, so thank you. Maybe you could start by telling us a little bit how you became an alternative therapy practitioner.
Yeah, I would love to talk about that. So, I started practically 30 years ago on a very traditional route. I started in physical therapy school, and it was great. I mean, it has such an amazing place in the world. But as I got out and started working with people, I just knew there was more to healing than just, doing exercises. So, I finished my first master's and then went on to a second master's in orthopedic manual therapy. And that again is a little bit more traditional. So, what that means is I work on helping you align your spine from your neck all the way down to your tailbone. It can be your shoulders, your elbows, your wrists, anything, whatever's out, I can help get back in. It's much more gentle than chiropractic. Chiropractic is a great modality, but just like anything else, it's not for everybody. So I did that second master's in orthopedic manual therapy. And when I tell people about what I do, I always tell people that throughout my whole career, trauma has always followed me. So women with pelvic pain who had been in sort of perhaps abusive situations started basically just coming to me, and I had to figure out how to help them in different ways besides the traditional. From there, I started studying craniosacral, which is your whole entire nervous system. And then I understood or started to understand how the organs also participate in pain syndromes and emotional syndromes. So when we look at such things as trauma and the resulting emotional things that can happen, our body keeps the score. And there's books written about that. But what that means is that our bodies hold emotions. So whether it's the nervous system or the organs or whatever, there are things in the body that can create a feeling of being stuck, kind of like a deer in a headlights almost type situation where you know what you have to do, but you can't really do it. You know that you have to heal. You know you have to change your diet. You know you have to exercise, but you can't do it. There's something holding you back. There's resistance. So when we work in that energy field, then I can help you release those energetic blockages that can help you move forward in life. So after years and years of studying the craniosacral and studying the visceral, I landed into studying human design, which is basically your story according to your DNA. From there, I started studying really in depth the energy medicine piece. And from there, I started studying the multidimensional piece of healing, meaning, okay, we have this lifetime. We have your lifetime from the point of conception to 7 years of age. And there's many books written about how we experience our worst trauma from that point of conception to 7 years of age because our nervous system isn't ready to process that. So we have the dimension of today. We have the dimension in utero up to 7 years of age. We have past lives. So if we look at ancestral healing and we look at perhaps the possibility of past lives, we have all of these energetic blockages that potentially could be stuck in our cells that we don't even understand. Like we don't even know that they exist. So when we work in these multi-dimensional fields, we can really clear the DNA, which allows you to heal. It allows you to better understand your emotions and be able to work with them. And it also allows you to move forward in life, to realize why you're here, why you incarnated to this planet, and what your mission is.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
So what types of clients come to you? I mean, I think you have people listening to the podcast there, or people like me. These are things that I've never really explored before, but and I have friends who are religious who've come to see you, and it seems like it's not, you don't have to be one or the other.
Mm-mm.
You just have to be open to it. Is that fair to say? I mean, I would say even when I came to see you, I wasn't even really open. I just figured why not, right? And like
Exactly.
other things weren't working. But how do you explain like your approach to a lay person, like someone who doesn't know much? I mean, like I said, how I heard about you was, again, people who said I was stuck, I was in pain. A friend came to you who was in chemo, and for whatever reason, seeing you helped them, but there's no real, I guess, explanation.
Yeah, exactly. No, I totally hear what you're saying. And, it's really hard for me to explain at many times
Sure.
exactly what happens in a session. So, let's start off with what you first started talking about. And you started talking about the religion piece. So for me, God is my higher power. Now, for everybody, God is not their higher power. It can be the universe, it can be nature, it can be animals, whatever that is. But one of the ways that what I do really works is understanding that there's something bigger than just us as these human creatures on this planet. So once you can figure that out, then it's like, oh, okay. I tell people I connect with God. God's my higher source. I listen to what my version, the non-Bible guide, the most beautiful she coach on the planet wants us to know. And I connect with that. And then I just listen. And then I use my hands to also work with your body to, just to create a conduit for what kind of information you need to know so you can take your action step. So sometimes it's easiest for me just to give example. So if you're local, you come to the office and you lay on the table. And sometimes people sleep. Sometimes people go into more of a twilight. So, Betty, if you were on the table and I said, okay, all set, we're done, you'd be like, oh, okay, I'm ready. But if I didn't say that, you would be in a very deeply relaxed state. So you're on, go
That
ahead.
that I mean, that my first time that happened, I was really shocked. The Twilight thing was really, I don't know, weird for me. I don't know how to
Nice.
explain it,
Mm-hmm.
but it was exactly how you said. When you started, I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be so boring. And then the next thing I knew, or what's going on here, like I don't really understand. And then the next thing I knew, you said, okay, our time together is done. And I was waking up Twilight, and I had no idea.
Yes. So a lot of that is what you learn when you study the craniosacral work. So it's called a still point, and that's exactly what it does. It puts you into a very, very relaxed state. So as you're in a very relaxed state, I'm going through your whole entire body. Typically, I start at the feet, and just as an example, oh, okay, there's something off in the right foot and up the right leg and into the right hip. And I just kind of follow the areas of stuck energy in the body. So as I'm doing that, I'm treating you physically, but I'm also treating you energetically. So I'm doing multiple things all at the same time. So as I get up through your legs and through your pelvis, then we start to get into the organs. And then I start asking questions. And this is all done telepathically. So as you're in that deep twilight state, I have a protocol in my mind that I'm going through, and I'm asking questions and I'm listening to the answers that come. So, to your point, when we initially started, and you said that you had friends who would describe me as an intuitive healer, that is exactly what I'm doing. So, I'm connecting to my higher power, which is God, listening to what he, she, most amazing coach on the planet is telling me to do, and then working with you and your body physically and energetically in this day, this time, this dimension, but also asking questions about, what was going on between the point of conception and 7 years of age? What was going on in past lives? What was going on in life between lives? Because as we exit past lives, we travel through this life between lives stage where we're getting the information, the things that we need to learn about the life that we just left and going into our next life. We can also look at future lives. So I have teachers that say that this work actually kind of rewrites the DNA code in your body, which creates healing. So in a roundabout way, when you're here, when you're on the table, I'm using my hands to pick up information from you. I'm treating you physically and I'm treating you energetically. This work can also be done remotely, and sometimes it's even more powerful when it's done remotely because we're taking the physical body out of it. The other thing about the remote sessions is that we get a lovely recording, so you can use them at night for sleep. I typically, every night, listen to my teacher's clearings that he's done for me, and it clears me from the day's work. And it allows me to get a really good night's sleep. So I can tell you what I do and I can give you a good idea of what to expect. But that interim piece, the middle piece, is a little bit more challenging only because there's so many things going on. There's the physical, there's the energetic. Then we pull out some emotions, and sometimes I'm asking, what emotion is this that I'm picking up on? So there's so much to it.
Yeah, it's sort of hard for someone, I'm in finance, so things are very logic based. So
Mhm.
it's kind of melding the two and being open to it.
Yeah.
Could you explain a little more how does a an online session work?
So we do 'em on Zoom. I like to be connected with you and see you. You can be in the comfort of your home wherever you want, curled up in bed or on the couch or whatever. I also offer people too, if it feels weird for me to be staring at you, to turn your camera off. And it's a very linguistic session. So I'm going to be connecting to your angels, guides, and teachers, and I'm going to be talking the whole time. And I'm going to be telling you exactly where I am in your body, what exactly you're doing, and what exactly I'm finding and I'm clearing. So I'll be clearing the energy in your auric field. I'll be clearing anything in past lives. I'll be clearing trauma. Um, I'll be clearing things that are called entities and implants and J seals. And sometimes I say really strange words. And even when it gets more strange as light language and it's different vibrations and sounds that actually start coming out that help to clear the negative energy, kind of like a tuning fork or a sound bath or something like that. But it's just as I connect to the higher self and start to bring that information in, then sometimes weird words or sounds start to come out. So it's a very linguistic process. I would call it like a meditation. So if you were going to get like on an Aura app and listen to a meditation or go to YouTube or something like that, it's very similar to a deep meditation where we're clearing all different energies.
Can you explain the clearing piece of it?
Mhm.
Um, or the best that you can. I
Yeah.
can't put into words what it means.
So again, it's really easy to explain what I'm doing, but how I do it is the hardest part to explain. So let's just start with the auric field. So the
What
auric
is the
field
work
is,
field?
yeah, it's something we all have. It's the electromagnetic energy that our body radiates out. And I describe it as kind of like a spider web. So we have these spider webs that surround our bodies, and we have these sometimes negative energies that get stuck in there. And when that happens, then we can be in pain, we can be sick, we can be just generally stuck in life, all of those things. So, what I do is I use specific words, linguistics, to be able to connect to those energies And then calling in angels, guides, and teachers, I basically say, let's clear all these. Let's take the dark and send it to the light. And then I can feel in my left hand specifically, because our left hand, everybody's left hand is all about receiving. So I can feel the vibrations in my left hand when I connect to that and when the energy has gone quantum and now the energy is gone.
Wow.
It's a
Sounds
lot.
like a lot. Yeah, it sounds like a
Yeah,
lot.
it is.
Um, and what types of issues do people come to you with?
Mm-hmm. Most people come to me with pain issues, um, whether it's acute or chronic, neck, back, headache, whatever, all different pain issues. Um, More and more, just based on kind of word of mouth, I'm starting to see people who emotionally are having hard times, whether it's stress, anxiety, again, just feeling really stuck or kind of complacent in life. People with the depression, with apathy, just like they've lost their zest and they've lost their get up and go. I also see a lot of people who recently have lost loved ones and are, really struggling getting through the grief process. So the energy medicine work can help with that. One of the kind of main focuses of doing these podcasts for you is, you know, women and hormonal issues, things like that. I do a lot of work with infertility, whether it's egg harvesting or people who are going through the infertility process, IVF, making that more successful, making sure that their embryos are actually implanting and developing and becoming these sweet little babies. I work a lot with women who are really having a hard time with menopause, whether it's that perimenopause state and actually going through menopause, whether it's like night sweats or sleep issues or just the emotional highs and lows. So the energy medicine piece can be extremely beneficial. In addition, actually, honestly, I think the visceral work, specifically focusing on the liver and the adrenal glands, really helps, and the pituitary gland, of course, really helps to rebalance the system in many ways. So it makes women's journey just a little bit more palatable and faster. And then we can also look at things like nutrition along those lines. Are you eating too much sugar before you go to bed? Are you having too many cocktails before bed? Because all of those things affect your liver and can give you what are perceived as hormonal changes, night sweats, waking up and not being able to fall asleep, anxiety, things like that. So if we can look at nutrition and really balance that out, figure out what works for you, that's going to be another way of hormonally moving you through the system so that you can be comfortable and live a great life.
What is the process? Because, when I didn't know what to expect when I came to see you.
Yeah.
And how do you determine whether to have a conversation or to read the body or to can you sense it when you meet somebody, or is it part of their intake form? How does that work?
Yeah. So I leave it up to people. I mean, sometimes people are like, hey, I got your information. I want to schedule. Okay, great. Those people, they just want an appointment. So, um, beings like myself who are very energy sensitive, as you know, because this is our second time getting together, the electrical system can be challenging dealing with that. So I say call or text. And then, like I said, if somebody says, oh, I just want to schedule, then go ahead and schedule. But some people are a little bit more cautious or want a little bit more information. At that point, I suggest, let's just get on the phone. Let's talk. Let's see how you feel about me. Let's see, if our energies resonate. Let's see if this is what you're really looking for. And then if we go forward, then we schedule and you see how you do. I give you action steps going forward, and they're simple things like just things to keep the energy process going, because with this work, the biggest difference is that it continues to work. There's an integration phase that continues. It can be a month, it can be 2 months, it can be a year before people are like, okay, I'm ready to come back. So it's very important for people to pay attention to their process and how they do versus just saying, okay, well, let's come next week, because too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. So let's just see how you respond to this, see how your system integrates, and then we can just take it there and move forward if necessary. But going back to the action steps, like I tell people, just drink a lot of water, do deep breathing, cold showers. Cold showers are super easy. Instead of standing outside the shower while it's warming, just get in 5 to 10 seconds on the back, on the front, 5 to 10 seconds on the back. Journaling, and journaling not for analysis. Like, you're not going to sit and write about all this stuff that's coming out. What the shamans say is that we write about this stuff to keep the energy moving, to keep the emotions, to keep the negative energy flowing from the body, and then we get rid of it in some way, shape, or form. So like I said, the shamans say burn it. I say don't burn it in Colorado, just rip it up and throw it away. The physical act of doing that is enough to create the energetic shifts that we're looking for. And then things like, just laugh, watch a funny movie, call a friend, movement, whatever feels good for you. I know if you're in pain, you're not going to get on the treadmill, run for an hour, but go outside and walk around the block just for 10 minutes. Sit in place, lift one knee at a time, just move your body so that the energy can continue to move. So that's basically kind of like start to finish. So if you're interested, get you scheduled. Either come to the office or we set up a Zoom. We go through the whole process. I clear what I need to clear in the session. I let you know what I did, what potentially to expect, and what you need to do going forward.
Well, what I thought was interesting in my session, you talked about past lives and you talked about, but you wouldn't like tell me what you saw or tell me what to do. And I mean, is there a reason why you don't share that? Or is it, what if you saw something super terrible?
So everything is super positive. Like, this is all about love and light and clearing what needs to be cleared. And everybody's different, and I think it depends on the openness of the person, honestly, based on what they're ready to hear. So for example, I can have a session where I actually do see things in past lives, and maybe the client will ask me about that, or I'll say a few things and they'll be like, oh my gosh, yeah, this and that and the other thing. And then I know that what I tell them is not going to be traumatic, because the last thing that we need to do, especially if there's trauma involved, is to create a situation where people are afraid. Like, I'm not here to do that. I'm here to help and to help you live your best life and take your action steps to move forward. So it totally depends on the person. It depends on kind of also how much experience you might have had with this kind of work in the past. And then the other piece to it is that, this is really about you. And I truly believe that all the information that all of us need is inside of ourselves. And if we just trust and we listen, it comes forward. So in different situations, I'll tell people, well, let's just see how you do. Let's see what comes out in your journaling. Let's see what you dream about. Let's see what pops in. And then we move forward and you can do your action steps or whatever. But it's so individual.
Yeah. 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 I mean, is there somebody that this wouldn't work for? I mean, or somebody that you would say, no, this isn't really for you? Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, are
Yeah,
there
yeah.
traits of those people, or is it mostly you can kind of just sense it?
You can sense it. Those are the people who are going to more or less want to do a call and then be like, well, let me think about it or whatever. So, and that's totally fine too. I mean, you know, it's your body. So if it's something that doesn't resonate with you, then that's fine. But I also have situations where initially it doesn't resonate with someone, and then all of a sudden they're like, okay, nothing else is working. And that's a really, really big deal. So, the mind body literature that's coming out now is absolutely amazing. And, it's like when nothing else works, we have to figure out another way to do it. And a lot of times it's just calming down the nervous system and understanding that you can be in a safe place with a really calm feeling body without any sort of stimulation. And once your unconscious mind starts to grasp onto that reality, it's like, oh, okay, I can feel different right now. And if I can feel different right now, why can't I feel different at home or at work or in different situations. So, um, it's definitely a process for some people. But like I said, that the new mind body information that's coming out, if whatever we can do to break those neural connections so that your body's no longer in fight or flight is a big part of getting into healing situations so you can really feel amazing.
Can you share, I mean, without, you know, disclosing client privileged information,
Sure.
but can you share like a situation or a story where you helped a client get through something or what that looked like?
hmm Yeah, I mean, the most extreme example is I had a client in and we just did one session. I explained to this person everything that we did, um, everything that I found. There was a lot of trauma there. And literally, it was about a year, and this person came back and was like, "You changed my whole life." And that's like, I love that. That is my best case scenario. I was working with a woman on Monday, and she was just talking about how observant I am with different things about her physical condition. A lot of times I don't ask a lot of questions during sessions, especially in repeat sessions, because I want to see if there's patterns. Like I said to this woman, your feet don't seem to be bothering you as much anymore. Is that true? And she was like, oh my gosh, you're right. Now I can walk around the lake and my feet don't hurt me anymore. I can walk farther. So there was that. And then there was another situation where I had noticed that she was kind of doing this weird breathing thing. And it actually is a potential symptom of iron-based anemia. So meaning that she's low in iron and she's had infusions for this. I was like, I noticed that you're doing that again. So you need to get into your doctor and get your blood tested for that. And she was just like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I've never noticed that before. And just conversation led to, well, I have this powder that is like organ meat or something. So it was a very pure source of iron. So in addition to her contacting the doctor to get some blood work done, she was also going to restart this supplement that she had become lax in taking. So there's that. I just had a woman in who had been harvesting her eggs, and this was the third time, and she did great. I mean, she got like 15 eggs and I think 8 embryos. So it was amazing the output that she got, but her body was just wrecked from the hormones. And I was able to calm down and balance her adrenal glands after her the medication and the process that she went through with that. And she's going to be implanting, I think she said, a boy in January. So I'll see her
Oh,
before
that's
that.
great.
So yeah, I love seeing those mommies. So that's another thing. And it had a lot to do with her as far as clearing a lot of negative energy to get her to that point, really working with the pituitary gland and that function. And again, I know I explain all these things and I tell you what I do, but it is hard to grasp the how I do it because a lot of times I don't really even know exactly how I do it. All I know is I connect to a higher power, which, like I said, for me is God, and I ask, and I kind of have different checklists in my mind, protocols per se, that I go through. And then I can feel when the energy is cleared or when the pituitary gland is functioning better. We mentioned earlier about your friend who had the bad cancer, and I see a lot of people who have cancer, and sometimes their protocols get stopped because their blood work is off. And I've had experiences with people who we can actually change what the blood work is saying so that they can move on with their treatments. So again, in different situations, a lot of time it just has to do with getting the liver and the pituitary gland functioning better, more optimally, so that they can tolerate the medication and process the medication better. Um, you know, People with severe anxiety, I'm starting to see a lot of that. And in a session or two, with just feeling that body in that relaxed, absent fight or flight state um, can produce amazing results. In some cases, people work with their doctors to get off different medications. Um, you know, so many different scenarios. People with acute back pain, that's really fun to work with because you can have amazing results. You can literally have somebody 80 to 100% pain free just in one session, um, just by getting them on the table and working with the nervous system and the organs and the energy medicine piece, putting all of that stuff together because typically there's something in the body that's not working right. So we bend forward or we move fast, and all of a sudden there's a pain syndrome. And if we can stop that process, then, it can be life changing because within hours you can feel better and be on your way and be like, okay, it's all good.
It's a miracle worker.
it's it's not me. I connect to the higher power, and I've had great teachers, but it's really fun to watch people be able to succeed and just live the life of their dreams and move forward and change things up.
How does that work if the woman is pregnant? Like, do you sense two beings then, and the journey you can kind of connect to both, or
Yeah.
how does that?
Absolutely. So, when I was in corporate healthcare, one of my specialties at the time was prenatal and postpartum, along with the pelvic floor, women's health, generally, that sort of thing. So, I had a lot of experience with pregnant women. And yeah, when mommies are in, those babies start kicking. They love it. And then those babies typically come back as clients. So, that's really fun to be able to watch kids be able to, go through the conception to the in utero process to actually being out in the world and just seeing how amazing they are because, you know, women who are pregnant and they just treat their bodies like a shrine and they come and they do their self-care and everything. These children are just lovely. They're so calm. Um, they're just amazing little beings. So it's fun to be able to be a participant in that.
How do you how does what you do complement or not complement Western medicine? I would assume that you have a lot of people who are saying this all sounds like hooey, and then you have people who are um, 100% in. And
Mm-hmm.
then, like me, I'm somewhere in between where, like, I don't really understand it, but it does help, right? Like, it's kind of
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. So when I look back over my career, when I first went out on my own, the name of my company was Sanger Manual Therapy Specialists. And then as I started really integrating the craniosacral and the visceral work and the nutrition piece, then I changed my name to the Sanger Alternative Therapies and Education. And now if I were to change my name again, which I'm not going to do just because, it's just paperwork and takes time away from the real healing and studying and all that kind of stuff, I would call myself Sanger Complementary Therapies. And I tell people all the time, let's work with your doctors, let's work with your chiropractor, let's work with your acupuncturist because it's all different. And a lot of times I'm just that one catalyst that is necessary to move people forward so that all of a sudden the chiropractic is working so much better or the massage is working so much better. It's just it's a catalytic treatment, honestly, when we work with other healthcare providers. And then, knowledge is power. Go to your doctor, get your blood tested, go get some films done. Let's see what's in there because knowledge is power. Let's work with what we have. And if we have that information, then we can set better and stronger intentions and just, get you better as soon as possible.
What are common myths about what you do that you want to dispel? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of them, right?
Yeah, just I think that people just have to experience it, to really understand what it is because, people will constantly say, well, how can you do all that? And um, I don't know sometimes. I really don't know how I do it. I just know that I've had great teachers. I've had great information come to me. I trust in the process. And, it's not for everybody. But one thing I tell you is it can't hurt you. Like, we're not going to do anything that's going to hurt you. We're going to set, specific parameters. As part of my protocol, telepathically, what I'm saying is making sure that this process is moving forward in the most beneficial way for the client on the table or on the other end of the Zoom call, so that they get what they need without over exceeding that. Like I said earlier, like too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. So I'm very conservative, especially when we're working with the emotionally energetic bodies, because when we have trauma involved, there can be things that come up. So, you know, I've got referrals for psychotherapists, for people that do EMDR, for psychiatrists, for other people that are outside the scope of what I do, because my goal is to help you. And if something comes up that needs to be addressed, then I'm going to help you get to the right person, because, we might have just created a situation where you need something above and beyond what I can do, or something more medical or whatever. I mean, medications are not taboo. Sometimes our brain chemicals in our bodies have just kind of gotten a little off track and they need some help. So, as far as like really dispelling myths, it just brings me back to, you just have to try it. You have to come in with a specific problem or specific area where you want to work, and then we just see where you go with it. Actually, last night I got a text from a client who wants to do a human design reading for her daughter. So she's in 4th grade, and she's struggling with some things, but her husband isn't necessarily on board. She's like, how do I convince him? I'm like, well, you might not be able to convince him. People are who they are, and what they think is what they think. But what I would recommend is, if you know his birth time, let me do a mini reading. Let's get on the phone and talk. And if he resonates with it, then maybe he can see the value in it, and he would want to do that for his daughter. So, just like it comes down to, after a session, me saying, let me know how you are in 7 to 10 days. Let me know what happened. It's also just, connecting to your higher self and deciding if this is the right path for you to take. But to your point earlier, like, if nothing else is working, then, because there's no downside to it besides more information that can be hard, but doable, you can do hard things.
What is a mini reading?
A mini reading. Okay,
Or what
so
is, yeah, is
yeah.
that, yeah.
So if somebody's interested and they just want to connect, then we schedule a call. We talked about that earlier, but human design is your story based on your DNA. And the information that I need for that is, I need your birthday, month and year. I need the city, state, country, where you're born, and the time of your birth. And then I run that, and I just take a brief look. We could sit and talk human design for 8 hours and still not be done. But what I do is I look at that and look at the biggest highlights, and then I do a call and we talk about it. And if you want to go deeper, then I do a deep dive into your chart. It takes me about 2 weeks to really like sit and analyze and go piece by piece. And get you figured out and figure out the best way to deliver it to you. And then we schedule our Zoom to do that. But yeah, the mini readings, that's just a human design reading.
So is that sort of like an astrological chart, or is it totally different?
Human design is a cake mix. So there's a little bit of astrology in it. I don't do astrology, but it adds a different flavor. It adds a little bit more depth to the information that is presented in your chart. It is an evolved chakra system. So we have 2 extra chakras in a human design chart, your emotion center and your spleen center. It is also based in the Kabbalah, which is a Jewish system of energy basically running from one area to another. And then it also has to do with 64 divisions of the sky. And the 64 divisions, according to human design, correlates with your 64 genetic codon. So that's why I say that when we look at your human design chart, it's your story according to your DNA. So it's all of those things that come together to create a system where you learn about how your energy functions best. And then what I do on top of that is then we can get really specific into clearing specific energies that are present in your chart that can be also holding you back. So that's sort of another way of addressing things.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot.
Do you know your birth time? We need to do a mini reading.
I don't know if I do. I think that's really fascinating. I've never,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was something that you also did.
Hmm. Yeah.
And can you like diverge from your own DNA? Like, is it kind of set in stone or?
So that doesn't really have to do with your DNA, but there's parts of you based on your human design chart that you can learn about that are areas where there can be a lot of conditioning. And out of conditioning comes a lot of wisdom. So, when we talk about conditioning, say, especially as a child, like if our parents wanted us to be a certain way and were really traditional in their parenting approach, then we might think in different ways that don't necessarily resonate exactly with who we are at our soul level. So once you learn about that and you bring that into your energy field and into your awareness, then you can work with it. And when we look at those areas, that's unconscious information. So when we look at a human design chart, we're looking at your conscious and your unconscious information. There's also areas in the human design chart that run 24/7. So that's conscious information. That is who you are. And the more you understand that that can't be changed. However, years ago, I had a client who her chart was basically defined centers, meaning this was energy that ran in her 24/7. And I said to my teacher, I brought this to my teacher because I was like, she's so off track. But look at her chart. She should be who she is. And he's like, yeah, she was told at a very young age over and over again that she was different is a better word than who everybody told her she was. And she lived that way till, 40 years old until we looked at her chart. And I was like, okay, look at this. And all of a sudden people are like, oh gosh, I knew that was just me, but everybody was telling me that it was a bad thing. And it's not a bad thing. It's just who I am.
Okay. No, I mean, I think that's really interesting.
It's really interesting. Yes. I tell people all the time it literally saved me as a parent because both of my kids are an energy type called manifesting generators. And the toughest thing I think about manifesting generators is that this energy type is here to try things and potentially back out. Be like, yeah, that's not for me, and move on to something else. And what do we do with kids? You started it, you have to finish it. Not everybody, but I mean, I get it. I get that as a parent too. Well, you said you wanted to do this and now you want to quit. Well, yeah. So what I do is I coach these kids or these adults moving on, and I tell them, what's your backup plan? Who are you going to pass the baton to? Because you know that you're going to try something. You're going to decide perhaps that it's not right for you. So who are you going to pass this project on to? You're not here to necessarily start and finish something. You're here to get something started and perhaps hand it on to somebody else. And if you can figure out what your exit strategy before committing to something is, then people understand because, honestly, people don't like when you back out on things. So it's really fun to be able to see those light bulbs go off and be like, oh, okay, I got it.
Yeah, that would be really interesting to do with your children too. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So many
it's,
ideas.
I know, isn't this great?
What advice do you have for, or how do people know when to reach out to you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do people know that, okay, I think I want to try something or I want to see Christy? Like,
Well, I would say, first of all, if you have some sort of health problem that's not getting better and you've tried everything, let's get a different perspective on this. Um, let's figure out what the end game is for all this testing. You've had all these tests, and the doctors, the people, whoever, they just want to help. They're trying to help and they're not getting any information. So if there's expensive tests that aren't going to change your treatment plan, then maybe you just hold off on those for a little bit. So somebody like that would be good to come on in and try something different. People who just feel really stuck or just can't figure out which direction to go. Like they know they need to make changes, but they just can't figure it out. That's another way to go. So, or another reason to come in. So, if you have any sort of pain, illness, disease, inability to heal, feeling stuck in life, emotions that aren't being resolved completely with medication or with talk therapy or with EMDR. Sometimes it's just like that one little light bulb that goes off that is like, oh, okay, here's what I need to do. And it's not a huge commitment to come see me. Like I said, I see you and then we wait and then you tell me how you are. And then we figure out if you need to come more or if you need to see somebody else or what you need to do going forward. And, really the basis of what I do is I just want to help you live the best life because I know it's possible. I've seen miracles happen. I see people's whole lives change with this work and I know it can happen. So.
It sounds really amazing and rewarding.
Yeah, it is. It's
What's
very.
the best way for people to contact you or reach you?
Yep. Call or text 303-727-0477. It's just easy. It's efficient. We can get you pointed in the right direction, whether it's me or whether it's somebody else. It's all good.
Well, that's a good question is if they're not able to get in contact with you or they want to see someone in person and they're not in Colorado, I mean, how do they find I mean, you have such a unique training. I mean, you have all these different modalities. How do you find somebody, I guess, not like you, but like similar?
Something. Yeah. So I have a website that I go to, upledger.com, and you can find a therapist on there. So if people are looking for somebody similar to what I do, then I'm more than happy to go through the website. Sometimes I get really lucky. Sometimes I don't. I've had a couple situations recently where, people have retired and moved to Arizona and South Carolina and just different areas. And I wasn't able to find somebody through Upledger. So I just kind of started Googling a few things and I found some people who do Reiki and I found some people who look pretty qualified as far as massage and things like that. So I try. And I
Yeah.
just tell people this might be great. It might not be great, but I'm hoping that it is great. And from what I'm seeing here online, it looks like something that might be worth a try.
Yeah. And with all this work that you do for other people, how do you maintain your balance and peace? And especially, I mean, I imagine, I don't know if seeing everybody's trauma is like watching a train wreck over and over all day. I don't know.
Yeah. So for me, it's amazing because I watch people heal. I watch people get better, which I love. And that's what like fills my soul and fills my cup and keeps me going. There's days that are hard. People go through a lot of really, really hard things, but I also know that all of us can do hard things and we can get through it. So knowing that at like that deep level is what really helps keep me going. The other thing too is every night I do some sort of, whether it's a meditation or an energy clearing or something at night. And then I do all the little protocols that I teach you guys to do. Lots of water and journaling and breathing, and cold showers and fun and movement. I'm up running between 4 and 5 every morning. I don't go far. I go about 2 miles, but you know what? I'm outside in nature. I'm breathing fresh air. I ran into 3 deer this morning. I'm constantly around wildlife and just knowing that there's a higher source and then prayer. I'm working on a Bible study right now and just really getting into just deep spiritual work that connects me to higher powers that not only help with my personal healing, but help me do a better job with everybody else.
Yeah, I would imagine you have to do a lot of self-care, self-preservation in this work.
Yeah. And then, if nobody got better, then that would be really hard. But you just know when you put the hard work in and people are willing to go the extra mile, it's amazing to see. And that's honestly that's my biggest thing. And then learning, like, when you feel like you're stuck and then all of a sudden a new teacher pops into your energy field and you're like, oh, it's the peace I've been looking for. And that also keeps me going too. Like, just finding new ways of doing things and finding new answers and, even I was helping this one woman who has multiple medical problems, very odd things, put some things together. And I was like, oh, why don't we look at this? Why don't we look at that? And I was looking at the Mayo Clinic, which usually I'm not a huge fan of, but I was like, wow, this looks really interesting. Maybe you can just go here and they can totally evaluate your whole entire system and we can get some more answers. So, it's for me, it's going that extra mile. It's figuring out that one piece that's missing and so that we can put the picture together and help you heal.
Well, which is really nice since in the medical community, it's just they don't have the time to do
Yeah,
that,
they
to put that
don't.
extra care in.
No.
And to know that somebody is going to bat for you or is really on your side is, I bet,
Yeah.
really amazing for your clients.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have all the answers. I'm not going to claim to be perfect or know everything, but I can try. Like maybe it just, takes 10 seconds to maybe look at something and think about something different. And that's just my goal, is to maybe find a different path for you so you can just heal and live the life of your dreams. Because, this world is kind of challenging. And if you feel bad all the time, I couldn't even imagine, every morning getting out of bed and being like, oh man, I got the worst day ahead because I feel terrible. So knowing that there might be some other answers for people is what really keeps me going.
Yeah, hope,
Hope.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
hope.
Hope. Yes.
Yeah, I
And
think that's
strategy
really
and
for some people that's they need it.
yeah, and action steps and just being empowered, like, oh, it's okay. I can only walk 10 steps. Good. Walk 10 steps, right? That's not bad. It's not
Yeah,
like, it's always like, okay, well, I'm not good at something. Well, are you comparing yourself to a high level professional athlete or an Olympian? Or are you comparing yourself to somebody who's bedridden? You can take 10 steps and the person who's laying in bed can't. So let's take 10 steps and tomorrow you'll be able to do 12 and then it's 14. And then before you know, you're going to be walking a mile. So hope, absolutely, but strategy and action steps too.
yeah,
So that, you can really become empowered and be like, okay, well, things aren't great, but I'm going to work hard and I'm going to make it better. So,
that's awesome. And
yeah.
what do you do outside of work, outside of your practice?
Mm-hmm.
I work a lot with people who are about to go into retirement or are going through some sort of transition in their lives. I mean, it's studies show that people are happier, especially in retirement, if they have something they like to do other than
Mm-hmm.
their work.
Yeah. So I spend a lot of time outside. In the mornings I walk or run, and usually in the afternoons I walk or run again. I spend a lot of time with my grown children and my dog and dogs and my husband. And, recently my new thing is this new form of Bible study. And, I'm always learning and studying and doing new things. To your point about retirement, I don't think I'll ever retire, but who knows what you're going to stumble on where you might want to do something different or just connect with people in a different way. For example, we spend a lot of time on Kauai, and we have a good friend who's in her 90s. And the last time we were there in July, we noticed that her memory was going a bit, and she noticed that too. And long story short, she moved to Colorado, moved in with her sister because she just didn't feel safe anymore living on her own on the island. And I was like, her condo was so beautiful and the views and the breeze. And it was just so sad. She did the right thing and she made the right choice for herself. But I was like, gosh, I wish there was a way we could have safely kept her there. So that's, thinking just along those lines of how can we make this world a better place for other people is really kind of what I like to do in my spare time, thinking about different ideas and different strategies to could we have done something besides just like a standard service, like a real personal connection? Not that those organizations are bad or anything like that, but having just that like caring, personal connection is important. Like I've already been to see my friend in her new retirement community and have lunch with her and her sister and just talk. And it's so important just to, not only be with our family and our upfront community, but to reach out to people like that who are probably terrified because they're losing their memory, they're aging, that they can't do the things they enjoy anymore. But just going and spending time with people like that in a real heartfelt way, to me, is a valuable way to spend time when I'm not working.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're such a giver of
Mhm.
your time and your energy and your skills.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so nice.
But it's so
And
good. It's so
generous and super
rewarding.
generous.
It's so
Yeah,
rewarding, you know. You
yeah.
just what everything that you give, you get back. You just see the smiles on this woman's face and her sister, and you know, it's very rewarding to step outside your own little microcosm and do something
Yeah.
like that.
Well, this has been so enlightening. Thank you so much for
Oh,
spending some time with me today, Christy.
absolutely. This has been fantastic. Thank you so much.
Well, I feel like people have learned a lot. I've learned a lot, so I really appreciate your time with us. And we'll be sure to put your information in the show notes. And if you
Great.
want to reach out to Christy, we'll put her phone number and her website in the link. And if you want to reach out to me, if you have financial questions, my information will be in the show notes as well. So thanks.